Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session. Children, in the previous class, we started a new unit, Indian Rivers and Water Resources, where we tried to understand about the drainage system of the country. We divided the drainage system into two. One as a Himalayan river system, the other one as a peninsular river system. And what rivers fall under which river system we tried to understand. Later, we tried to understand about the usage of the water, the equitable or the rationally usage of water. We tried to understand what is the use of the water for a domestic purpose, for industrial purpose, and how to measure the availability of the water in a village. Example of a tank we have taken, and we have understood how to measure the stock of the water available in a village. Next, we moved on to a case study of Tungabhadra river basin, where the Tungabhadra river basin travels, or Tungabhadra river travels across the three states, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Most of its catchment area is in Karnataka region. Okay. And the what we call the catchment area, the upper catchment and middle catchment area is present in Karnataka, but the lower portion, the lower catchment area is present in the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh region. The case study is the availability of the water in these two regions, that is in the Karnataka part as well as in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh part. According to the official statistics, much of the land present in the basin is a farmland. Main land coverage is a farmland, and apart from that, you also have the permanent pastures, mining is there, and cultivable land is there. So tree grows are there, fallow lands are there. Many kinds of other usages of the land is also present in the basin. The lower portions of the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh region are characterized by the lower rainfall. It is a drought prone area, and some regions of this area depend upon the underground water for the wells and tube wells. They depend upon the underground water. The other areas depend on the surface flows of the canals in the Karnataka region. So encroachment of the public lands for cultivation is very common in every region. Even in the Tungabhadra river basin region also, the encroachment. Encroachment means, what do you mean by encroachment, children? Encroachment is nothing but the illegal occupying is called as encroachment. Illegal occupying, not legal. Illegally, if you occupy any area, it is called as encroachment. So it is very common for cultivation. Generally in the forest area also, they clear a part of the forest and they keep on cultivating. So this encroachment even in this basin area was very common, and it resulted in more land being used under cultivation at the expense of the tree cover. So they kept on clearing the trees and they started cultivation in this region. Because of that, there was a rampant felling of the trees, cutting of the trees continued. Mining activity resulted in the forest degradation while you do the mining, because iron ore is available in this region. So they keep on mining activity. So the forest they have destructed. So there was a degradation of the forest along with the destruction of the habitat which is present in the forest, which is a highly threatened flora and fauna. The very rare flora and fauna, that is a species, will live in this forest region. They also got extinct because of the destruction of the forest. So inflows of the groundwater depend upon the tree coverage in the catchment area. If the catchment area doesn't have any tree coverage, the underground water doesn't get percolated. The water doesn't get percolated and recharge the underground water. When there is no tree coverage, then automatically the underground water level also gets decreased. So inadequate tree coverage leads to the water runoff on the surface. Very fastly the water runs off, and without getting chance to recharge the groundwater. Moreover, this causes the flash floods also. What happened in Kerala, you know it very well. Because of the destruction in the Western Ghats, flash floods occur. That means very fastly the floods reach. If there is a tree coverage area, the trees will regulate the speed of the water. So the floods doesn't occur that fastly. But when you remove the trees on the way of the water, then immediately the water flows very speedily. So because of that, the flash floods also occur. If we wish to be fair to both the rain-fed areas and canal irrigated regions, in these two regions, if you need to be fair, we must adopt a different plan for water conservation and a system of sharing water. So if you wanted to be fair for Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Karnataka, then you should adopt the water conservation plan. You should adopt, as well as the how to share the water which is available in Tungabhadra must be through a plan. So whether the states respect them, or whether the state governments will listen to the plan or not, it depends upon them. Tungabhadra dam has gradually lost its capacity over the decades. About 50 years ago, the capacity of the reservoir was nearly 3,766 million cubic meters. 3,766 million cubic meters it was. Now, with the accumulation of silt, you know what is the silt? The soil which gets gathered in the bottom of the reservoir is called as a silt. Generally, even in the lakes also, under the Mission Kakatiya, we remove the silt. Pudi ka tita we call it as. Okay, पूरा मिट्टी जाके उसमें गिर जाती है. So that is called as a silt. So that silt has to be removed, but because it's a big dam, that silt accumulated, and that has decreased the capacity of the reservoir. Now you see, if you imagine this as a reservoir, okay, if this is water present in this reservoir, this capacity is different. It was 3,666 million cubic meters of water should be present here. But now what happened? The silt got accumulated. Entire bottom silt got accumulated here. Whether the capacity of the reservoir increases or decreases, it automatically decreases. The same thing happened even with the Tungabhadra dam also. The capacity now got decreased, and presently the reservoir has lost its storage capacity by as much as 849 million cubic meters of water. As one of the studies says that proper mining standards are not followed here in the iron ore extraction, because Tungabhadra region has the iron ore mining. So proper standards were not followed. As a result of that, this silt accumulation was very fast in this region. And the mining of iron ore at Kudramukh and manganese at Sandur has seriously affected the sustainability of the catchment area in the form of siltation and in the form of soil erosion also in the several small reservoirs present in this region, the Tungabhadra tank region as well as Tungabhadra dam region, reservoir region. Now the conflicts between Karnataka and Telangana, Andhra Pradesh are generally related to the availability of the water for use. How much of water should be used by Karnataka, how much of water should be used by Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Water is a flow resource, it keeps on flowing, and its storage and its use has in the upstream affects the availability of the water in the downstream. What is upstream, what is the downstream? The water flows like this. This is called as upstream. ऊपर का लोग जो water usage करते हैं, okay, that impact will be seen on the lower, what is available in the lower stream. इधर ही ज़्यादा यूज़ कर लिए समझो, ओके, इधर डैम कंस्ट्रक्ट कर लेके आप क्या करते हैं, वाटर को स्टॉप कर लेके इधर ही यूज़ करने शुरू करते. एज द रिजल्ट ऑफ दैट द वाटर विल नॉट बी अवेलेबल इन द लोअर रीजन. So the usage of the water in the upper stream will automatically impact the availability of the water in the downstream, and water has to be shared based on the agreements made between the two governments or three governments. Okay, so but whether the governments respect to those agreements or not, it depends. Now what we have seen between Telangana and Maharashtra, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, that is the same thing. There should be a mutual agreement which is respected by the governments. Although the area is access of water is a precondition in this farmland area where 80% of the population depends upon the agriculture for their livelihood. Irrigation is provided through the canal system from the dam. While in the rain-fed regions, farmers extract the groundwater through the bore wells or through the open wells. The major crops include paddy, jawar, sugarcane, cotton, and even finger millets are cultivated in this region. Although the area is ideal for semi-arid crops, the major crops grown in demand in this region require a lot of water, that is a paddy and sugarcane, which require a lot of water. Cultivation of such crops throughout the basin has dramatically altered the water sharing balance. If all the regions cultivate the same paddy, then automatically the water usage will be very high. So when all the areas desire to cultivate the water crops, then conflicts become inevitable. Hence there is a significant difference between the availability of the water in these two regions. So the farmers with access to the land and irrigated water and those without access will have the dispute. Then for a fair use of water for all, a change in cropping pattern has to be suggested, should be encouraged in these regions throughout the basin. If one cultivates paddy, the other should go for the less water consuming crop. If they cultivate, the downstream cultivates the paddy, then the upper stream should cultivate the crops which require the less water. So this kind of a balance when you make, then the water can be shared equally. During the last 2 decades, if you observe, there has been increasing trend in the number of small towns and industrial areas in this region. This has made the competing demands for water more complex. Even they require the water for drinking, water for the industrial usage. While increased industrialization and the growth of urban areas have improved the standard of living for some, the same activities have caused even the pollution also, especially by the industrial units into the Tungabhadra Dam. There are nearly 27 functioning large units and 2,543 small industrial establishments are present in the river basin. They consume a large amount of water per day, and industries were permitted to discharge the effluents, whatever the polluted water is present in the industries, they can discharge it into the effluents, can be discharged into the river. They were permitted. So into the river, but following public protests in 1984 regarding the discharge of molasses by the sugar industries, a large fish got killed. So laws were enacted restricting the requiring industry to discharge the only treated effluents into the river. These laws are not implemented properly or forcefully, hence severe pollution also caused in these river system continues. So the remaining part of the lesson we shall see in the next class, children. Until then, take care.